Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Olipop. Olipop is a new kind of soda that combines classic flavors with prebiotic fibers, functional ingredients, and no added sugar. So most Americans do not get enough fiber, and I love that Olipop makes it easier to support your gut health. With classic vintage flavors, including cola, lemon lime, root beer, cherry cola, all kinds of classic flavors that we grew up drinking. So Olipop recently launched this limited edition flavor, Pineapple Paradise, in collaboration with SpongeBob SquarePants to celebrate the new movie. The packaging is super cute, and check out the 5 collectible SpongeBob-inspired cans. I got this can. I just noticed that you can see SpongeBob's arms right there. It's so funny. And it comes in a 4-pack, which is shelf stable, so you can stock up your pantry. Cheers. It tastes super nostalgic. It reminds me of a soda machine that used to be at my local Long's drugstore. And my mom, every time I would go, would give me a quarter that I could put in the machine, and it would dispense a little paper cup, a little bit of crushed ice, and then it would dispense the syrup and the fizzy water and create your little cup of soda. But I always got pineapple. So pineapple soda always reminds me of that machine, and that's what this tastes like, a combination of that Long's Drugs pineapple soda along with those little tins of pineapple juice. Do you remember those where you had to pull the little tab? Exactly. So as many of you know, I don't like things too sweet, and Olipop only contains 2 to 5 grams of sugar. It's all natural sweetness. There's no added sugar. Olipop is available at over 65,000 retailers, including Walmart, Target, and Whole Foods. So if you'd like to get $2 off Olipop and try Pineapple Paradise or any other 4-pack flavor, you can click the link down below or scan the QR code above. Big thanks to Olipop for sponsoring this video and for allowing me to make better videos for all of you. Alrighty, my lovelies, today we're going to be trying something that I found at my local supermarket, and I shared it on social media and lots of you had thoughts. Today I'm going to be trying a naked lobster. The Naked Lobster, what? So I think the name Naked Lobster is an appropriate one. It's a very good description of what this is. This is a lobster that is naked. It is completely out of its shell, and it's frozen, and it comes with a couple pats of herbed butter. But what's interesting is that it's raw, so you still have to cook it, but you don't have to take it out of the shell. You just take this and you cook it, and then you can eat it as you wish, with this herb butter, in a lobster roll, how you wish. So you just plunge it into the boiling water like that, packaging and all. It's shrink wrap in plastic, and it is frozen, so you cook it in this frozen form. So immediately I had questions. How do they do this? How do they take the lobster out? And beautiful lovelies on social media chimed in that they use high pressure to remove the lobster meat from the shell, and then it's flash frozen immediately, and this is the product. So this was not inexpensive. This was $19.99. It's about $20 for one lobster, and it says it's 5.7 ounces. And because I live in the Northeast, more specifically New England, lobster is pretty plentiful. You can find it at most supermarkets. So I purchased a lobster as well, so we could do a little side-by-side comparison of the frozen naked lobster versus a lobster that I got from the supermarket fresh. I want to compare the flavor, taste, and all the whole experience. Here's the package, and I have to say the packaging is brilliant. It immediately catches your eye. It's 3-dimensional, and it's open, so you can touch it and see that this is a naked lobster, just as it says. So you can see that it contains both of the main claws and the tail. Here I've got a pot of boiling water, because that's how we're going to cook it. And here it is. So we just place this whole thing into the pot of boiling water for 11 to 13 minutes. And it contains 2 pats of butter. And so that butter is going to melt and infuse into the lobster. That's one thing I'm a little bit critical about. Like, what if I don't want this particular herb butter with my lobster? What if I want plain butter, or perhaps no butter at all? Because that's the other thing we're going to be testing today. First, I'm going to compare this lobster, the naked lobster, to one that I purchased at the supermarket. And then we're going to be making lobster rolls in 2 different ways, the Connecticut style versus the Maine style. We'll talk more about that later. First, we're going to cook our lobster. Boiling water. We're going to reduce it to a simmer, just a simmer. Plunge our lobster in, our dead lobster. We don't have to worry about it suffering. And we're going to cook that for 12 minutes. So let's compare the naked lobster to a lobster that I got from the supermarket. Lobsters. So as I said earlier, I live in New England where lobsters are pretty plentiful, and lobster happened to be on sale at the supermarket for $12.99 a pound. I asked for a pound lobster, and of course they gave me a pound and a half lobster. So this was $19.61. But the coolest part about this is that my supermarket will cook the lobster for you. So you purchase your lobster, they take it out of the aquarium, and then they'll steam it for you right at the supermarket. I went to go get my rolls, and 6 minutes later, cooked lobster. Brilliant. Let's see what our lobster looks like. And here is our lobster. Beautiful. Look at this gorgeous lobster. Perfection. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. So the one thing you do have to contend with when you have your lobster fresh from the supermarket like this is that you still have to get the lobster meat out of the shell, which I find part of the enjoyment and pleasure of eating lobster is picking everything out. But other people do not feel the same as I do, obviously, hence naked lobster, but I quite enjoy it. So I like to have a pair of kitchen shears, and ideally you would have lobster crackers, but I'm going to use a combination of a little rolling pin and scissors. So what I like to do is to twist the head, separate it from the body. This is the tamale I was talking about, this green stuff. I quite like it. So you can twist the arms off. There's also meat inside the legs, so you can use your teeth and do little nibbles from the bottom all the way up, and the little piece of meat will end up in your mouth, or you can use a rolling pin and roll it out like this. See that? And you get a little piece of meat out, which is great. It's a little nugget. Now, for the claws, you can use your lobster cracker, or you can, I'm gonna use my rolling pin. I'm gonna break that joint off and pull. So you have that little piece of meat there. Crack it here, and then you can smack it with your rolling pin, and it will crack open, and you get your beautiful claw. This is actually one of my favorite bites right here, the knuckle. Love that. And that is not included in the naked lobster. It's just the claws and the tail, which is too bad, because I love that piece. Perfect little bite-sized bit. Crack that off, and then you get a little knuckle joint right there. And sometimes if you're lucky, if you pull it, you get, yeah, so you get both pieces. And to get the tail out, straighten it out a bit, snap the bottom, little fins off, and then usually I can just push it out. But if it's protesting too much, you give it a little crack this way. Sometimes you can use the scissors and cut down the middle here if it's being stubborn, but usually you can just crack it and then just push your finger through, or just crack it like I did, and the whole tail will come out. Beautiful, whole lobster tail. That's it. So that's essentially what it takes to take the lobster out of the shell. Alrighty, lovelies, it's time to take the naked lobster out of the boiling water. Oh boy, look at that. It's the sack. So first of all, I don't love the idea of cooking my food in plastic, but it is very convenient, I have to say that. But there is the lobster swimming in its butter. There are the claws. It's difficult to see, so let me take it out of the bag. It smells like it's garlic butter. I can smell the garlic. Okay, let's drain this out into the bowl. Oh gosh. One of the claws is stuck. So let's take the lobster out of this butter. There's the tail and the 2 claws. Cute. Here's the cooked naked lobster. And here is the supermarket lobster. Cooked. So this lobster does look bigger. And this was about the same price. $20, $20. So right off the bat, we understand that we are going to get more lobster meat if we buy it from the store. Let's taste the fresh one first. I'm going to taste a bit of the tail. Although my favorite part is the knuckle. I feel like we need to compare tail to tail. You know what I mean? Alrighty. Grocery store. Plain, simply boring lobster. Itadakimasu. Bouncy, resistant. It's good. It's not overly cooked. It's got a pleasant, bouncy, resistant texture, but not too rubbery. It's sweet and simultaneously salty, and it tastes of the ocean. If you like shrimp, you will like lobster. In fact, I think I like shrimp a little bit more than lobster. For me, lobster has a bit of a fibrous texture to it. It's kind of a lot to get through, but tasty. Let's try a claw. Delicious. The claw meat definitely has a different texture than the tail meat. The tail meat is more solid. It's more kind of bigger fiber muscles than the claw meat. The claw meat to me is a little bit more similar to crab meat in texture. More strandy, you know what I mean? Finer, but delicious. Now let's compare that to the naked lobster. Here's the naked lobster. Focus. This is the tail. I feel like the naked lobster seems a little bit overcooked. It's kind of dry. It's buttery, but garlicky as well. And I don't taste the lobster flavor as much. I feel like it gets kind of covered up with the garlic butter flavor. And 12 minutes seemed too long. It's a little dry. Yeah, I prefer just the simple beauty of the of the freshly cooked lobster. So since I have this beautiful lobster here, I thought I would make a lobster roll, because lobster rolls to me represent Maine and summer. It's no longer summer here in New England, but here I've got a lobster. Oh, look at that beautiful row in there. Do you see that? So this was a female. Give thanks, lady. So my initial plan was to combine the naked lobster with the fresh lobster to create some lobster rolls. But since that's flavored with garlic and herb butter, I don't want to do that. So I think I have enough here for 2 lobster rolls, because my next experiment is I want to compare a Maine-style lobster roll with a Connecticut-style lobster roll. So I didn't learn this until recently, that there are 2 different styles. I always thought they were just different options, but they're actually called different styles. So the Maine-style lobster roll is also called a cold lobster roll, because the lobster meat is cold and it's served dressed with a little bit of mayonnaise. Sometimes celery is added, sometimes some green onions or chives are added. It's tossed together more like a kind of salad, and then served in a roll, the New England style of roll, which looks like this. And these are hot dog rolls, but these are specifically New England style because they are split on the top like this, exposed on both sides and split on the top. So that's the Maine style, generally served cold with mayonnaise. Although when you go up to Maine, I've also seen lobster rolls served with butter, which is considered the Connecticut style, also called the hot lobster roll, which is warm lobster served with melted warm butter on top. Same kind of situation with the roll here, toasted in some butter, but just with butter. That's the Connecticut style. But in Maine, you can get it with butter too. But those are the 2 different styles. I want to compare and contrast both of them. I like both of them, but one thing I do not like is I do not like celery in my mayonnaise version. For both of our lobster rolls, we do need to toast our buns. So I've got melt some butter. I had this melted, but it's so chilly, it re-solidified. So we're gonna take our New England style rolls and lubricate them generously with butter and toast them gently. I like lobster, but I find it to be very rich, and I probably only eat it about once a year. Butter likes to burn. which is a good thing. It caramelizes quickly, but it also burns quickly. See, that's looking gorgeous. Toasted to perfection. And now we're going to assemble our half the lobster meat into one. We're going to divide the lobster meat between two bowls. Connecticut style, we're simply going to dress with melted butter. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, 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 ooh. Lots of melted butter. So, lobster is warm, butter's warm, and yeah, right in there. Gorgeous. Next, we have Maine lobster with a little bit of mayo. That's it, not too much. In goes the lobster. I really should have more lobster, but I don't want to put that naked stuff in here because it's going to affect the flavor. You know what I mean? I don't want garlic. Alrighty, Maine. I might have put a little too much mayo. That's what happens when you do things while you're holding the camera. Still looks pretty good though. Alright, now we serve them with a few potato chips. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Since I have the main one in front of me, let's give that one a taste first. Boop, 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 boop. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. I mean, just the bun alone, toasted in butter, is so good. Slightly crisp, soft, and squishy, full of buttery flavor. But the star here is really, really the lobster. The mayo goes so nicely with the lobster. It adds a layer of richness, a richness that I associate with things like potato salad or tuna fish salad. Just richens it, kind of holds everything together, and is delicious. Delicious, delicious. Love it. You still taste the lobster. You taste the ocean briny essence. The sweetness of the lobster, 100% still there. And then everything's held together with this toasted buttery bun. Great. Alrighty, let's try the Connecticut style, or the buttered hot version. That's what that looks like. Itadakimasu. For me, surprisingly, there is a clear winner here. I like the buttered warm version better. I feel like you can really taste the lobster clearly there. And the butter to me makes it taste sweeter. Even though this is salted butter, this is a creature that came out of the ocean and is inherently salty itself. It tastes sweeter, and the flavor of the lobster is more discernible and more distinctive than the mayo version. But I could have simply put a little bit too much mayo in mine too, although that one is delicious. This one I think just sings more like a lobster roll, just sings lobster. You know what I mean? Delicious. I think one thing I would change is perhaps using unsalted butter next time, because the lobsters themselves have been living in the ocean and have been brined and are salty themselves. The additional amount of salt in the butter seems a bit much for me, but this one is so delicious. Both of them are delicious, but I clearly like the Connecticut style more. And with a potato chip, perfect. But if you ever have the opportunity to have a lobster roll, I would try both and see if you have a preference. But again, taste is subjective. Your taste might not align with mine, so you may think otherwise. You may actually like celery in your lobster roll. Well, I don't. So what are my final thoughts on the Naked Lobster? If you don't have fresh lobster available, then by all means, that is an option. But I would take it out of its plastic packaging and melt the butter separately, just so you can have just plain lobster flavor, and then dip your herbed butter if you want to have that. So you have the optionality of just having more of a pure, simple version of lobster, or the herbed version as well. So you have some optionality. That's what I would recommend. But if you have the option to have fresh lobster, and if your supermarket steams them for you, then I would totally opt for that. I feel like the lobster tastes sweeter and is more flavorful and more full of lobster essence when you can get it fresh. But that's usually true of most things, right? Alrighty, my lovelies. Thanks so much for watching, and big thanks to Olipop for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to receive $2 off a 4-pack of Olipop, you can click the link down below or scan the QR code above. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo. Take care. Bye. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't have my camera on. I actually can't believe it. Dang it.